Let me be the first one to wish you a happy new month. Karibu hii side of December. It is finally December. Kama mulikuwa mnangojea mtu mwingine wa welcoming to December, ilikuwa tu ni mimi nakuja. 25 days to Christmas, mbuzi imeanza kunukia hivi kidogo. 31 days to malizane na 2025. This is the Morning Cafe. My name is Freddy Ndimuli on this 1st of December, World AIDS Day. Now that you're getting reports that Nairobi is leading in the rate of new HIV infections. How about that? Now, these are just going to be some of the discussions that we're going to be having from now till the end of the day and throughout this week. Let's take a look at the dailies this morning. And yes, you can see even the dailies are still focusing on the aftermath of the November 27th by-elections. By-elections fallout is a big story there on the front page of the Daily Nation. They're talking about what happens next after vile kulienda, tunajua wengine bado analia. Habari ile kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo, kitendawili cha naibu wa Ruto mwaka 2027. Jamaa alideliver, kutendaje? People Daily still talking about the president and his government now that he's buoyed by the win in the by-elections inside Ruto's power circle. You saw them out last week campaigning for the past 1 month and they delivered. Now, a quick look at who they are and what they do. That's a People Daily. The Standard has gone totally different. Nothing political on the front page today. Scam loading. They talk about another SHA ripoff. We'll be coming back. Take a look at what exactly they're talking about. On the Star, yes, now that you're already in December and it should be the festive season, but no Christmas cheer for families as festivities loom. There's an Oxfam report that says the cost of food has gone up by 50%. That's a Star. Matters Business, Kenyans fail to claim 67 billion shillings shares of NSE-listed firms. Hey, watu walinunua shares na waka move on. Afadhali kama wao. That's a Business Daily. So, to help us take a look at the headlines this morning on State of the Nation, we'll be having these three gentlemen. Wakili Kibe Mungai, Dr. Makali Mulu, who's an MP Kitui Central, alongside Kipruto Rapkirwa, who served as Agriculture Cabinet Minister in the Kibaki One administration, and before that as MP of Cherangani constituency. That coming your way at 6:30, do stand by for that. At 8, being a Monday Blitz, Arsenal were held to a 1-1 draw yesterday by Chelsea. What does it mean for the EPL season going forward? But yes, bado wako juu ya meza, 5 points clear, mutasikia hivyo. Let's move on to the region. And we start off with the East African. What are they talking about? East African Presidents Summit put off. Tanzania's political crisis plus icy relations among leaders make it hard to get quorum to hold a meeting on December 6th. This was going to be a huge meeting, but a lot has happened in East Africa. Plus, kuna jamaa alisema ana claim ownership ya Ocean. Plus, he has an election come next month. So, not really the best time to hold a summit of the community. Remember that these presidents also did not attend the inauguration of their colleague in Tanzania. They sent representatives as well. So, ni kama kukiwa na summit na inafaa kukua wapi? Summit usually huwa inaenda Arusha. But anyway, it could be held anywhere. Amesema not now. So, what's happening to the East African community? The other story given prominence here on the front page of the East African, end of log jams. They talk about what President William Ruto launched on Friday, the dualling of the Rironi-Mau Summit Road. So they say dualling of Kenyan Highway is meant to unlock faster, safer, efficient movement of people and goods on Northern Corridor. Yes, it's been a big problem. President William Ruto officially launched the dualling of that road. And this will be a game changer, not just for Kenya, but the entire region. If they could do the same for the Nairobi-Mombasa stretch, even better, given the kind of traffic jams we've been witnessing in the past 1 week or so. Other stories here, Kagame, we disagreed with Arsenal. You know, they've always had this visit Rwanda branding on the jerseys for Arsenal. So the Rwandan leader now explains why the English club won't renew sponsorship deal. Paul Kagame is actually one of the biggest Arsenal fans. I don't know why they disagreed with Arsenal. He's been widely criticized for spending that kind of money on an EPL football team jersey. Now, if you want to know and understand better why they disagreed, the East African has a story on page 2. European Union moves to cut off Tanzania. Tanzania's wars continue to deepen following the elections, if we may call it that, of October 29th. And they say blocks legislators censure Samia of alleged rights abuses, push aid cut. This is the EU Parliament. They said, ni kama tutafunga hiyo tap kidogo, then we see what happens. That is the East African, a general outlook of the headlines across the region. Let's go specifically now to Uganda, who are anticipating elections in January. And we start off with the Daily Monitor. Their agenda for young Ugandans, they continue looking at manifestos. So the 2024 census report states that more than 70% of Uganda's population is aged 30 and below, with half of the 45.9 million Ugandans below 17 years of age. Wow. With such a young country, the next president should be prioritizing the interests of young people. But what do they have in their plans? And they've given the top 4 candidates there on the front page. Of course, the incumbent Yoweri Museveni. Robert Kyagulanyi also features there, the candidate for the National Unity Platform, NUP, and the other two, Mafabi and Mugisha Muntu. So Nathan Nandala Mafabi, akona jina ni kama upande hii ingine huko kwetu. Wa Forum for Democratic Change FDC anasema ata generate employment. Kila mtu employment, kila mtu employment. Anyway, it's the same promises we've had, okay, not just in Kenya, across the entire continent. And I think this, what is portending in Uganda, the fact that a huge percentage of their population is very young, is also what's happening in Kenya. Employment ndio mnaambiwa, employment inakuja. So that is what they feature on the front page. The other story, of course, being World AIDS Day, how declining donor aid is undermining HIV fight, is a story they are given prominence on this paper. Matters election, new electoral map sparks confusion. And yes, that is a business day, no, story, Daily Monitor, sorry. Their shilling is also weakening pale juu kidogo. So the Ugandan shilling, this is how it's exchanging to the dollar. 3,620. One single US dollar, 3,000, ukona 3,600 za Uganda. Hapa mkisikia 129, 130 muna complain. Wao ni 3,600. That's the Daily Monitor. Let's move on to the New Vision. Powerline theft gang cornered. So they've steered clear of Matters election, and they're talking about the vandalism of power lines. So there's demand for steel by companies. This is what has been linked to rising vandalism of power lines. So they say that a gang that has been engaging in this has now been cornered. But they still cannot ignore the politics. And kama kawaida pale, a sea of yellow. Nilisikia kuna chama hapa Kenya ilikuwa inatumia picha kama hizi za Uganda, wanachukua picha sababu wanashare rangi moja. Sijui ni chama gani hiyo lakini. So Museveni once again campaigning for his re-election. So he says, my rivals can't maintain peace, says Museveni. That was his message as he campaigned yesterday in Kazo. They still make mention of the other candidates, Kyagulanyi and Mafabi, what Mafabi and Kyagulanyi promised voters. World AIDS Day also features there on the front page of this paper. Remember, HIV is still big in Uganda, which is one of the most affected countries by that epidemic. Uganda makes progress in HIV fight, and that's the New Vision. So these are the stories they're focusing on. Matters HIV getting the front page and election campaigns. What about Tanzania? And we start off with the Mwananchi. I remember 2 weeks back it was, we move on. Heal and move on. What are they talking about? Tume ya Jaji Chande bado yang'ang'aniwa, gazeti la Mwananchi. Tume hii ni ya kuchunguza matukio ya wakati na baada ya uchaguzi mkuu wa Oktoba 29. Sasa ya buruzo mahakamani, walalamikaji waeleza sababu. Kuna tume ambayo itachunguza ni nini kiini mambo yaliyotendeka siku ya uchaguzi, lakini bado tume hiyo imepelekwa kotini. Wengi wanasema hata sisi tukue hapo. Mambo manne ya Gen Z kwa vigogo serikalini ni habari nyingine ambayo imepewa kipaumbele. Nyingine hapa ni Askofu Gwajima asikamatwe, wanasema huyu Mwigulu. Gwajima ni yule ambaye alikuwa na makanisa kama 25,000 yakafungwa kabla ya uchaguzi. Anasema asikamatwe. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Pale chini, wasaka umea wenye viti mikononi mwa wajumbe CCM. Chaguzi za umea zaendelea. Pale juu, Mkoa wenye foleni, meneja TANROADS unaondoka. Kule Ulega, habari kamili, masuala ya barabara na foleni. Foleni ni ile kama ile tunasema hapa Kenya, mlolongo, ndio ile unaita foleni. Gazeti la Mwananchi kule Tanzania, hakuna masuala ya ukimwi kwenye ukurasa wa mbele, na hata siasa zao sasa ni tumepona tuendelee. Tukisalia kule Bongo, tuangazie gazeti la The Citizen. Why soaring informality poses threats to DIRA 2050. Tanzania's new Integrated Labour Force Survey 2024 has revealed a transitioning labour market, but also highlighting two persistent structural barriers that pose significant challenges to the country's progress towards DIRA 2050. Increasing informality and widening wage disparities based on gender, geography, and education. This is what features on the Business Daily inside The Citizen. They also talk about the youth bulge. Percentage of young people aged between 15 and 24 who are in the labor force are 60%. A gap that experts say undermines Tanzania's future economic strength and its hopes of maximizing the demographic dividend. So the issue of the youth population in Uganda and Tanzania is a theme that features across. Other stories here, rainfall delay amplifies Tanzania's heat wave. They're experiencing temperatures averaging 33.2 degrees Celsius. Kule kuna joto proper. Hapa Kenya we'll be looking at the weather situation tuone vile kunakaa, because also in Kenya hakuna mvua. UDSM's Smart Campus push signals a new era for Tanzania's universities. Matters education pale. Mayoral primaries also happening. Battleground drones. CCM votes pale chini. Pale juu, AI, why artificial intelligence will not replace Tanzania's entertainment industry. Wataendelea kuimba tu zile nyimbo zao za bongo, wengine wakifukuzwa. Quite a number of Tanzanian artists cannot show their faces in public right now because of what happened at the elections. So those are the headlines. Once again, no mention of World AIDS Day on the front page of Tanzania's papers. We'll be back to take a look at the local papers in a while. For now, tuangazie hali ya anga ndio tujue watu wengi tuanzie Kitui. Kule Kitui, they say it is a cloudy day, mostly cloudy, but you can actually see a lot of sunshine. It is currently 16 degrees Celsius. It will get as high as 26 degrees, quite warm. And this will increase by tomorrow in a heat 27, then it falls down again to an average of 26 degrees across this entire week in Kitui and the better part of the eastern region. Farther south in Mombasa, it is warmer at 27 degrees this morning. It feels like 29. They say it is a cloudy day, highs of 31 degrees. So if it's cloudy, wanamaanisha it's not holiday weather. Watu wanatembea kule. Right now, if you go across and you'll be looking at traffic, the number of buses and the number of travelers to every region in the country has increased significantly. So highs of 32 degrees in Mombasa today, and this will continue for the better part of the week into the weekend and next week. So fairly warm weather at the coast. In Nyeri, a bit chilly. It's a Mount Kenya region, 11 degrees Celsius. In Nyeri, partly cloudy, highs of 23 degrees, which is normal for Nyeri. But yes, if at all you're not used to that kind of weather, this could be the chilliest you'll see. Probably in Nyahururu a bit lesser. It'll go higher, 24 degrees. And you've realized as a trend that tomorrow temperatures will be higher in most regions that we've seen in Kitui, by a degree at least in Mombasa, now in Nyeri. Goes up, then the following day goes down a degree. What about Garissa? In the northern part of the country, 24 degrees, a bit warm. Highs of 37 degrees. Although there's a bit of cloud cover, 37 degrees is definitely punishing weather. This will continue and probably drop once you get to midweek and into the weekend as well. Kisumu, it's also quite warm. 21 degrees this morning, feels like 24. They say it is a cloudy day, but a lot of sunshine to be recorded at highs of 32 degrees. And this will continue throughout the week, quite warm in Kisumu. And finally, Nairobi, 16 degrees. Currently, they say it is a cloudy day. Na tumerudi kwa 26 degrees, meaning it is warm. Kesho ipande 1 degree. Just like anywhere else, Tuesday inapanda. So tomorrow is actually going to be a warm day across the entire nation. 27, then it drops down to 26 into the weekend. So that's generally the weather situation across the country. Very little rainfall expected across all regions. Actually, none. Turudi Nairobi tuangazie hali ya traffic. And I can tell you for sure, I've done a survey this morning, quite a number of roads in the CBD especially are packed as most PSVs get ready to transport people to different areas. Wale wanataka kwenda Mombasa, and you can actually see Haile Selassie Avenue. It is only what time? 16 minutes. A lot of traffic around Haile Selassie Avenue, Landis Road, iyo barabara ya Ronald Ngala pale. A lot of traffic pale because most buses, River Road, Tea Room, everyone is traveling this morning. The other major tributaries into town are not looking bad at all. Outer Ring Road, the usual trouble spots at Feather and Tasia, but nothing out of the ordinary. Jogoo Road tu pale Makadara na pale Shauri Moyo kidogo. The problem I'm seeing here is actually at Pangani Interchange, and you can see the stretch onto Thika Road. Imeanzia pale ndani ya tunnel, and it goes as far back as the Utali Drift. This is way past Mathare Mental Hospital. So those guys using Thika Road, leo mutapata shida, even before you get to the Pangani Interchange. We'll be looking at this traffic situation later on to wonder how it will affect people. But yes, people are traveling. So they're trying to get to town to get a bus to Kakamega and elsewhere. That's the traffic situation. Let's have the quote of the day.
The strongest people are not those who show strength in front of us, but those who win battles we know nothing about. Remember, every small victory is a testament to your resilience.
It will definitely take us some time to get over what happened last week on Thursday, and the by-elections, 23 by-elections across the country, 6 for members of the National Assembly, 1 senatorial by-election that was in Baringo, and the rest members of county assemblies. And this is what is big, even on the front page of the Daily Nation. By-elections fallout. So they talk about double standards. It's a question they're asking. Top politicians who backed rival candidates in the just concluded by-elections are facing disciplinary action, including potential removal from party and parliamentary leadership. One of them, of course, is Boni Khalwale, who is a majority whip in the Senate. Yeye alikampenia jamaa wa DAP-K, sasa walishindwa, sasa sijui ataambia nini watu. Sources in the broad-based government team of Kenya Kwanza and ODM reveal plans to reorganize parliamentary leadership to reflect the current political realignments. The story is on page 4. So ODM Kitutu Chache South MP, Anthony Kibagendi, he backed candidates from Matiang'i's UTA party. That was for the many county assembly by-elections in Nyamira. Another one is Saboti MP Caleb Amisi, who's also, he supported DAP-K. ODM wanaleta shida pale. Homa Bay Deputy Governor Oyugi Magwanga is a former MP of Kasipul. He went against his boss, the governor, and he was supporting Philip Aroko, akashindwa. Kitutu Masaba MP Clive Ombane also supported Matiang'i. Khalwale had mentioned. Nyali MP Muhammad Ali, he backed the DCP candidate in Magarini. Kabuchai MP Majimbo Kalasinga supported independent MCA against Ford Kenya, and his candidate won. Kakamega Deputy Governor, huyu ni wa DAP-K, alikuwa na support UDA. Hata mambo itachemka. So parties are reading the Riot Act to lawmakers who defied their leadership and campaigned for rivals in mini polls. We'll be looking at this later on with my panelists. Another story here, paradox of jobless PhD holders. So listen to this. Kenya produces approximately 300 to 400 PhD graduates every year against a national target of at least 1,000. But still, they're not getting jobs. While advanced education is often hailed as a path to opportunity for many of the country's most educated citizens, it has instead become a journey into uncertainty. They make mention of healthcare here. Healthcare will not be disrupted in SHA switch, teachers are told. Napale Ju. WorldCoin saga, you remember where people were going to have their irises screened. How Kenya's iris scans ended up in Germany. It's a story on page 2. So, yes. Acha nione gani ingine analeta shida hapa. New report flags blatant human rights violations by government. There's another story there. And also in Kenya, interestingly, it is World AIDS Day. Have you heard anyone mentioning AIDS anywhere? And I'm looking at this paper. No mention, even in the inside pages of that. On the back page, Matter Sports, Nairobi United on the back foot in Africa Cup. That's a Daily Nation. Tuende kwa Taifa Leo. Kitendawili cha naibu wa Ruto mwaka 2027. Wengi walisema Profesa Kithure Kindiki alipewa kazi. Akiweza kuifanya ile kazi, watazungumzia. Akishindwa, ataonyeshwa mlango. Sasa alifanya kazi na akaifanya sawa sawa. Sasa ni kitendawili. Rais ana kibarua kuteua mmoja wa washirika wake awe mgombea mwenza. Unakumbuka chama cha ODM kilisema, si tunataka tu kiti cha naibu wa rais. Upande ule mwingine, Mudavadi pia alideliver wapi? Malava. Sasa ni nani? Naibu wa rais Kithure Kindiki anatarajiwa kukumbana na ushindani mkali kutoka kwa wandani wengine wa Ruto wanaomezea mate kiti cha mgombea mwenza katika uchaguzi mkuu ujao, hasa baada ya ufanisi katika uchaguzi ndogo. Ni ukweli. Kwingineko, kisanga cha walinzi wanatembea cha mtatiza waziri. Murkomen na Kanja wajipata pabaya kuondoa walinzi wa gavana wa Trans Nzoia na viongozi wengine. Kinaya cha wasomi wa PhD bila kazi, wengi wamesomea. Imebainika Wakenya wengi waliosoma hadi kiwango cha degree pia hawana kazi nzuri. Na Otiende aongea lugha ya Sifuna. Asema hapakuwa na makubaliano rasmi kati ya Ruto na Raila. Endeleeni kuongea hivyo, na sasa chama cha ODM kishasema sasa tumeshinda. Leteni hiyo maneno mlikuwa mnasema. Ni habari kama hiyo tu, wanasema waasi wa UDA na ODM wakabiliwa na adhabu, na sura ambayo imetumika pale ni ya seneta wa Kakamega Boni Khalwale. Masuala ya spoti, Man United na City wapa katika EPL. Man City washika nafasi ya pili, Red Devils wakiliza Palace na kurukia nafasi ya 6. Timu ndogo pale lakini inang'ang'ana. Gazeti la Taifa Leo. People Daily, masuala ya siasa yanaendelea pale. Inside Ruto's power circle, the story is on page 5. And this is what they describe them, and they have an image there of Farouk Kibet, whose official role at State House people still do not know. But they say they work from behind closed doors, cutting away billions in earnings, a collective outfit invisible in public, unstoppable in power, mired in controversy, and whispering decisions that steer the nation. The people who run the William Ruto administration. But I don't agree that they're invisible. Farouk Kibet probably was among the most visible when it came to campaigning for the UDA candidate in Malava, who turned out victorious. So now ametokea huko, anasema silent strategists. They're not very silent. They're very loud, especially on social media. Inside Ruto's power circle. Meka hapo rais amepiga ile luku si luku. Audit flags irregular fees, uniform scandals and NEMIS data gaps. That's a story on page 4, matters audits of government spending. And that's the People Daily. Kama unapenda siasa hapa. On the inside pages of the People Daily, a lot still to do with the theme surrounding the November 27 by-elections. That's the People Daily. People and politics, smart minds. So the Standard steered clear of matters politics. Only one story features on the front page of this paper. It says, scam loading na alama za dukuduku, another SHA rip-off. Ghostland. For 21 years, a disputed 23-acre plot in Karen has swallowed billions for a hospital that exists only on paper. Now, despite an active court fight, forged documents and unanswered ownership claims, the Social Health Authority now wants another 50 million shillings for a fence around land the state may not even own, thus keeping a ghost project alive at staggering public cost. This is a story that is on page 4 and 5 of this Standard today. And they have on the front page here, the landowner is one Peter David Leparako. He says there is no government agency that has not investigated this matter, from the DCI, NLC, Ministry of Lands. I have lived here for more than 40 years. As far as I'm concerned, there is no dispute. The land is occupied by me and the title deed is in my name. But according to the SHA CEO, Mas Mwangangi, says the authority has secured a budget of 50 million shillings to help in fencing the plot. Enye huyu jamaa Peter David Leparaku anasema ni kwangu. Even as it awaits the conclusion of an ownership dispute, DCI requested NHIF to surrender the original titles for purposes of investigation. The current status of the matter indicates that criminal matter is still ongoing. That's the main story. At least the Standard on page 3 has made reference to HIV. Today is World AIDS Day. It is a huge thing. Quite a number of Kenyans are still living with this condition. Kenya records increase in new HIV infections. The Daily Nation doesn't have any of these stories. Even the Taifa Leo, not on the front page, but this one talks about it. Barely 4 years from the set time frame for elimination of HIV/AIDS, new data shows that Kenya is experiencing an increase in both new HIV cases and AIDS-related deaths. And the largest number comes from the city of Nairobi. Previously, it has been counties in Nyanza region like Siaya and Homa Bay. Now, it has come to Nairobi. Other stories in the inside pages: court summons CSS and PSS in Mao settlement case. Wanga allies plot Magwanga ouster for defying party during mini poll. Yes, the aftermath of the by-elections of last week, still a big debate, and that will continue. Yes. On the back page of this paper, Nairobi United once again fall again in Confederation Cup duel, and that's the sports on the Standard. Masaa inasonga kweli kweli. Let's move on to that another paper, and this is the Star. Now, the Star, today being the first day of December, washaenda festive season already, but they say no Christmas cheer for families as festivities loom. The story on page 4 and 5 quotes an Oxfam report that says that the cost of food has risen by 50%. So the report says the cost of food alone has risen by 50% since 2020, while average household income has dropped by nearly 40%. So after COVID probably is when we would have expected the cost of food to go up. But since COVID till now, it has gone up by 50%. Wow, that's a story. Worrying number, 7 million Kenyans have fallen into extreme poverty since 2015. Alafu ile report ilitoka last week. 125 Kenyans are super rich. They own more wealth than the rest of the country. 43 million people are below that. Wow, that's a Star. Okay, fine, they make mention of the by-elections and the aftermath, why by-elections may determine Western politics ahead of 2027, with a picture there of the Malava MP-elect David Ndakwa receiving a certificate on Friday. Pale chini, Ruto repeated his promise to make Kenya first world country. Last week he said, interestingly, that he hopes by the time he's 90, we'll have gotten there and that he'll be here to see that. Watu wanauliza, anataka kuionea akiwa wapi at the age of 90? Anataka kukua ndani ya State House ama nje ya State House? Mimi sijui, ni swali watu wanauliza uko kwa kina social media. And that's a Star. Fresh, independent, and different. From the Star, let's go to the Business Daily. Kenyans fail to claim 67 billion shillings shares of NSE-listed firms. So Kenyans have failed to claim this amount in shares of 47 companies that are listed at the NSE, highlighting the difficulties that the state faces in uniting their assets with their rightful owners. This is a discussion we've been having for months, quoting data from the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFA, which shows that Safaricom tops the list in both number and value of shares, with 705 million units worth over 20 billion shillings unclaimed at the end of September this year. Watu walinunua shares, years later, no one is claiming them. Sasa sijui if at all the NSE is allowed to continue trading in those shares, ama wanaambiwa those are unclaimed, but here UFA. So 1.85 billion shares of 47 listed firms are unclaimed as at September. The other story, small banks beat large rivals in 9-month profit growth. Banks continue to record profit. We kama unaumia ni peke yako na biashara yako ndogo ndogo. Banks in Kenya are making profit. Now these are small banks, not even the big ones. They're still making profit. On the ticker, counties owe Kenya Power 5.6 billion shillings in unpaid electricity bills. KRA wins 773 million tax battle with construction firm. And the unit trust clients double, lift assets to 679 billion shillings. Matters business. Yes, so those are the dailies, and these are the discussions that people are having across the country. Matters politics, health, and business. Once again, a reminder that we'll be having these three gentlemen in studio for our discussion. A look at the headlines today, mostly political. Kipruto Rapkirwa, who served as Minister for Agriculture in the Kibaki 1 administration, also served as MP of Cherangani. Dr. Makali Mulu, who is a current MP, Kitui Central, and Wakili Kibe Mungai, they'll be in studio in a few minutes' time. Do stand by for that. Tuangazie Karakacha, tujue wanazungumzia nini pia wale. And a lot of the cartoons across most of the dailies have the same theme, the by-elections and the aftermath. On this one, this is a cartoon on the Star. Kuna jamaa ameweka mguu moja juu ya mlima na ingine juu ya KICC. Sijui anasema nini. Na hapa chini kuna wengine, ule jamaa wa katibu mkuu wa chama cha ODM ako pale chini anaangalia kutaendaje. Hata ule jamaa kule Wiper. So after the politics of the by-elections, what happens? Jamaa ameweka mguu moja upande mguu ingine upande ile. Hata alisema, by the way, musiseme he lost, that Gachagua lost the Mbeere North contest. No, he had no candidate there. His candidate was withdrawn. That's a DCP candidate. He was just trying to help Democratic Party push their candidate. Alafu mnasema ati he lost. Wewe nani amekwambia? The cartoon on the People Daily still talking about by-election politics and a look at 2027 polls, but this time round from the lenses of the goons that we saw. Quite a lot of violence witnessed across all the 23 locations that had by-elections. Now we have one of the goons here with very bloodied weapons. Amekanyaga ile box ya by-election, anaangalia mbele na binoculars, anasema next target 2027 polls, an indication that there could still be a lot of politics and violence come 2027. That's according to Star. No, we the standard hapa mimi sio mimi nimesema ni kuna jamaa ule speaker wa National Assembly na ile chama yake ya Ford Kenya, chama ya Simba, lakini here the speaker Moses Wetangula, caricature of him, he's been caricatured here, amejaa plaster kila mahali, mguu iliumia, kwa crutches, ameumia proper. From that by-election, I think as the UDA and ODM continue celebrating, this probably one of the biggest casualties. Kule Kabuchai, Chwele, which I'm told it is home ward in Bungoma. Kwake mahali kwao nyumbani. Unajua ile ukilemewa hapa tao unarudi kwenye nyumbani huko. He had a candidate for Ford Kenya. Alilimwa proper by an independent candidate. Jamaa hata ana chama, he could not even secure a ticket for a party. Hata DAPK hapana, hii it was independent na akapata hiyo. Yeah. Na anasema truly I tell you, no speaker is accepted in his hometown, clearly. Rudi National Assembly, that's a direction. Kabuchai, tushaenda nayo. Okay, this is a Daily Nation, and this one steers clear of matters politics. You see the other three, the same theme, by-elections and the aftermath. This one talks about banned pesticides, and there's a wall here. So this farmer, or whoever is using banned pesticides, spray kule, but the produce, poisonous produce is coming this way. What they're talking about here is the fact that some of the banned pesticides are coming our way from European countries. Yes? Wanasahau, kwao they cannot use those pesticides, but they can export the pesticides to Kenya and other African countries, forgetting that a lot of the produce that we produce here using those banned pesticides still find their way back to Europe as the biggest importer. So yes, those are the main discussions, and I will be looking at this and a lot more after the break. Remember to keep interacting with us online. Our social media pages on X, TV47 Digital, on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, it's TV47 Kenya. Use the hashtag Morning Cafe TV47. See you after the break.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omar every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
Walikutoka.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
I mean, you know, nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Fureke tonight. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Fureke is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Ani wewe furahia umekaa na kasipuni. CP unit ni Punet.
So you guys knew about...
Piga.
Sawa basi. Sema, that I'm giving the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You'll have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. Start your day with Relationship Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Ann Odida. Dive deep into the
During a church service at AIC Milimani, Nairobi, President William Ruto told supporters that the recent mini poll sent a clear message to political rivals and gave his administration fresh political momentum.
I have great confidence in the future of Kenya. I have seen what God can do.
He congratulated the newly elected leaders and urged them to serve all Kenyans equally. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, had gazetted 24 seats for the by-polls. In the end, candidates allied to the government's broad-based coalition won the lion's share of the polls. A result the state says validates its development agenda and gives it an electoral edge ahead of 2027.
3 years ago, we were struggling with the economy, we were struggling with education. Our health system was not quite together. Our economy was not doing very well. But God has healed our economy.
Duly been elected.
Key wins for the ruling side included parliamentary victories in Malava, Mbeere North and Banisa, as well as the Baringo senatorial seat. Outcomes party leaders say reflect sustained popular support for their agenda. The UDA party described the results as a vote of confidence in President William Ruto. However, opposition leader says the by-elections are a limited litmus test and warn against reading too much from the results, pointing to low turnout in some areas and allegations of irregularities in others as elements that they feel undermine these victories.
I am very confident. I have no doubt in my mind that it is possible to move Kenya from a third world country to a first world country before I die.
Even so, while the wins give the president short-term momentum, the national race in 2027 will still hinge on issues such as cost of living, jobs and regional dynamics. For now, the head of state is using the outcome to press home his message of unity and development, urging the newly elected to serve Kenyans in equal measure as his administration moves to complete major projects across the country. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
Yes, President William Ruto definitely buoyed by that victory in the mini polls of November 27 last week. And he keeps repeating the fact that now he is confident that this country will move to a first world status by the time he passes on. He at some point even talked about the age of 90. And it's interesting. It's this level of confidence that we now want to look at with my panelists this morning. Waziri Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who served as Agriculture Minister in the Kibaki One administration, as also a member of Cherangani. Karibu sana, Waziri.
Thank you.
Makali Mulu, Dr. Makali Mulu is with us this morning. He's the MP Kitui Central. Karibu sana, Bwana Mulu.
Thank you, Fred.
And Kibe Mungai, Advocate of the High Courts, is here with us this morning. Karibu sana, Wakili. Now, all three of you gave your own predictions and analysis before
Yes.
the events of last week. Most of you are definitely, or at least part of the analysis you gave was definitely inaccurate. What we saw last week was something different. Borakirwa, do you see any factor that you may have underestimated in your pre-by-election analysis?
First of all, thank you for this opportunity, Fred. And let me say at the onset, condemn the level of violence that was visited, especially the people of Malava and other parts of the country, whether meted by the candidates themselves or by the state agents. It is deplorable that we can get so low as to spill blood among ourselves. The second issue is that this is now proper analysis. And when you look at all the 22 positions for MCS, the opposition won, the government lost. Why do I say so? If you assume that ODM is with UDA in the next election, and you look at all those factors that arose out of us changing positions that were hitherto belonged to Kenya Kwanza, start with Mumbuni North in Machakos. It was chap, it went to Wiper. DCP took 3 new positions with a huge majority in some of the areas, both in central Kenya, Nairobi, and western. And we are able also to flip over the win by, and even Narok, there was one in Narok. They were also able to flip over the Fort Kenya win in the last election in one of the wards. And also, DCP beat UDA because UDA got only 61 votes in Kisau East. So when you look at overall, in areas where UDA was controlling, they were shaken, including the fact that it was Kenya Kwanza's seat in Mbeere North, because DP was then in Kenya Kwanza. The fact that we lost by a paltry 300 votes does not in any way signify anything, given the fact that there was heavy presence of the state agencies and all the funny guys in town went to those places. A by-election is slightly more dangerous than the main election. I came in a by-election in 1989, and all the crooks, either from Nandi, from Eldoret, from even other constituencies within Trans Nzoia, they came camping in Cherangani. Some of them were supporting me, some of them were supporting my opponents. And it tells you it does not reflect the true picture of the situation. What I've maintained, and I still maintain, is that Western Kenya has gone away from Kenya Kwanza.
Despite the win in...
The win in Malaba, it was just a difference of 1,000 votes. And they employed 3 people, one in South Africa, one in Uganda, and one to KRA. And everybody was there. A lot of mattresses, millions of mattresses were given to the people. Millions of shillings were given. I don't think they can afford the same come the next general election. And it was very clear that if it was just a fair play, without hurting people, without scaring some of them, damaging vehicles, it was clear that we were going to take that seat. Now, go back to the last general election. In that seat, there were 40,000 votes going to Kenya Kwanza. ANC won with 22. UDA got 20, the same votes that Panyako got. So 40,000 votes in that constituency were friendly to Kenya Kwanza. This time round, it is 50-50 with the state presence in a very heavy way.
Okay.
Yeah.
But definitely, Bwana Makali Mulu, the numbers were never going to change anything, because at the national parliament, both the Senate and the National Assembly, the numbers are already skewed towards a broad-based arrangement. The fact that they won these numbers, or even if they would have gone the other way, nothing would have changed in terms of voting patterns. But the perception really is what is the president is riding on. The fact that all the parliamentary contests at the national level, he and his partner party won, definitely that is what he's basing it on. Bwana Kirwa seems to think that we should at least consider the county assembly contest as well. But in as far as perception is concerned, the president has run away with it. Don't you agree?
You know, they say a win is win, even if the margin is just 1 vote. And I think that's what the president is trying to ride on. That at the end of the day, candidates from his coalition were declared the winners. But when you get more analytical, I think Mheshimiwa Kero has put it very well, that there are 2 things the president needs to consider. You consider what was the position before the by-elections. The position was most of those seats he claims to have taken were in his coalition. So it's like you have something with you already, so you are trying to see how much that thing can go to the other side. And even though they claim to have won, if I were in their side, I would be more concerned about 2 things. How many seats shifted from our side to the other side? If you take the MCR positions and you take even the parliamentary positions, for the MCR position, they lost big. Because if I have 0 and I get 1 or 2 seats, even if they were 30, it means you have lost, because that seat should have been yours. So in terms of numbers, the question is, if they had 40 seats in total, did they maintain 40? And the answer is no. They lost a number. Like Kirwa says, oh, those Maendeleo, Chapu, UD, DP were all on Kenya Kwanza coalition. So the fact that the leaders left that coalition, went to the other side, and they have managed to take a few seats with them, irrespective of whether they are MP or MCR, the truth of the matter is Kenya Kwanza has lost in numbers. The other critical bit, and I think this word should worry them, the margins. If you look at all those positions, what people got in 2022, in terms of the number of votes casted to their side, percentage-wise, and what has now gone to their side percentage-wise, you realize the differences were so thin for all the positions mostly. If you take Mbeere, we are talking about hundreds. If you talk to Malava, we are talking about 1,000. Look at the 2022 elections. The margins were thousands. So it means your ground is being actually taken away. And I think they need to be more worried, because today is 2025. We still have 1 year plus to go to 2027. And what will happen now is we approach 2027, obvious, the same other side which has lost now will continue claiming more ground. So that's why I'm saying they need to be more worried. The perception might look good now, but anybody who is analytical will see that they are losing as you approach the general election. And there's something very important Honorable Kiro has mentioned. In a by-election, all efforts are focused on one small area because the stakes might look high. 2022, the kind of resources they applied in Mbeere, the kind of human resource they applied there, money, and even the security, will not be there for 2022 because it will be a general election. So those askaris we saw there chasing people away, pushing tear gas, all those people who were burning vehicles, and the claim was that they were coming from Nairobi. You saw what Karuma was saying in Homa Bay, that he knows those goons by name and he knows where they have come from. That time there will be nobody to be transported from Nairobi to Homa Bay. It will be Homa Bay people managing their own issues. So I think really analytically, they have minimal to celebrate for now. They should be worried that now our ground is being taken away from us. What do we do? But as you are saying, even if we took all the positions from them, the MP positions, that matter of majority in the House would have remained. So I see a situation where Parliament will continue being also captured. That position will not change because we have a by-election. At the MCA level, the same, because you know the numbers are only in total about 27 by-elections, and you know the numbers are thousands in MCA. So in that case, then what we call the power balances in the houses might not change much. But really, anybody who is serious needs to be concerned that now as we approach 2027, the margins seem to be, becoming small.
Yes. But it was an opportunity for this administration and the broad-based arrangement to try and test their strength in the methods that they hoped to use. And a lot of criticism has been directed towards that some of the methods, and the two gentlemen say that it will be difficult to replicate the same in 2027. Do you agree with that? That probably, because they've tested it and they know it has worked, that it will be difficult to replicate the same methods they've used, however good or bad?
That's a brilliant question, and I hit that, and I believe that's the crux of the matter. Kenya is a constitutional democracy. In a constitutional democracy, the constitution is very clear. You're supposed to hold free and fair elections by secret ballot. Article 81 lays out the criteria of what is a free and fair elections. Now, the need to ensure that you hold elections in a certain manner is because of what we call the question of legitimacy, that you actually went to an election and you won it. You asked us whether our prediction, my own prediction was the United Opposition would win Mbeere and would win Malava. That did not come out to be. It's not that we did not expect there would be an element of monkey games, an element of corruptions by Kenya Kwanza. What clearly I can say and I underestimated are two things. One, the determinations by Kenya Kwanza to ensure you get those seats by hook or crook. And this is why now you saw the kind of either campaigning on the eve of the elections in Mbeere, even in Malava. You saw the kind of open bribery that was engaged in both areas. During the voting itself, there was open involvement of a lot of security agencies. To an extent, and this is the second point related to that, that we must worry that IEBC was not really in charge when it mattered. Like when violence was meted out on agents in Mbeere, and including to the candidates in Malava, IEBC, even the chairman, you have not heard him come and say anything. Therefore, I would agree with you that if it is okay to win by hook or crook, by any method, then this was, as on a smaller scale, they have tested the method. That, and you see Uganda, and you had an element of Uganda type of elections in Malava, okay? Uganda and Nigeria, elections rigging can get really bad. You know, in Kenya, it has always been something marginal. the rigging that we've always had in Kenya. But the two by-elections, particularly in Malava and Mbeere North, shows that there is a willingness of President William Ruto to go very far to be able to get his wishes. That is the wishes of re-election and the wishes to remain in power. And we have an IBC that is likely to play ball. That issue, when initially was raised, Gachagua played it down and said even if Ruto's brother or cousin was the chairman of IBC, that united opposition will still win. But with Mbeere, and this is, I'm saying this as a lawyer, IBC matters, and whether those people are credible or not. Because the moment somebody has declared, even when it is a completely rigged election, that so-and-so is the winner, you must go to court to say otherwise, that it is not rigging. But for Kenyans, and this is, I believe, on the analysis of the election will come later, for Kenyans, for me, what I would worry is a question of legitimacy. Because I see it in the media. I see it among people who are supposed to be commentators. I think there is one thing that we must not forget. In 2007, which is what gave us part of the electoral reforms that we had, is because when ODM was declared, whatever party right had at that time, to have lost the elections, actually it was ODM. They talked about, they introduced the narrative of a stolen election. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as I am concerned, and particularly I have seen enough of Mbeere to be convinced that Mbeere was not won by UDA. But it's going to court. But I'm saying, you see all these issues.
Because you've used the example of 2007, but
yes.
Mwai Kibaki still went on to govern as president.
Precisely, that's the issue. But let me tell you the distinction. The distinction was, in the eyes of so many of Kenyans people, it was, whether it was all of them or not all of them, it was a stolen election. Why is it important now? Why it is important? Because in the manner in which you've put the questions, it is upon the media and everybody else. For example, a car jacker. If a car jacker gets my car, everybody would not say Kibe has lost his car. Everybody would say Kibe's car has been robbed. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I believe it is important that if UDA goes and steals elections, you cannot, to say that the opposition lost or UDA has won, it would be actually to applaud a villain and a thief.
All right.
And that is important for purposes of the question of legitimacy. Because I do not think, and that is where the complication is going to be, President William Ruto knows he did not win Malava, he did not win Northern Mbeere, because I know what they did. And a number of guys from that other side. Remember, the political class, we are all over. What is it that they are saying? Below the table, they will not come and say it here. Mm-hmm. We told you, and I believe part of it we had here last week, we told you we were going to win, to do whatever it takes to win Mbeere North and Malava, and we did it. Mm-hmm. So it's not like below the table, and ask them. Yes. I know you have friends there. They are not saying they won.
A win is a win. A win is a win.
But under the constitution, a win is not a win.
Yes. The thing is that when it comes to politics, once you win and you move on, then the rest is just perception, which is neither here nor there. But we'll be examining what next for the united opposition after this break. They made a lot of predictions, and they were so sure about their win, especially in Mbeere North and Malava. They did not get it. What happens next? Let's take a short break. You're watching Morning Cafe.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. Only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV 47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach. Only on TV 47. for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tiaga. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments. Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Meteorologist, what is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.de.
As the dust settles on the just concluded by-elections, DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua has come out to strongly defend himself over the results from the Mbeere North contest after UDA's Leo Wamuthende beat DP's Newton Karish. President William Ruto and Deputy President Kithure Kindiki have taken jabs at the opposition, especially Gachagua. But Gachagua now says they are targeting the wrong person.
DCP haikuwa na candidate Mbeere. DCP ilikuwa na candidate Kariobangi North, tukashinda. Narok Town, tukashinda. Kiza East, tukashinda. Purko, tukashindwa kidogo na Magarini.
Gachagua also accuses newspaper analysts of downplaying DCP's victories in 3 wards.
Nimeona maanalisti ya magazeti wakifanya mambo mingi, hawaongei mambo ya ushindi ya Nairobi, hawaongei mambo ya Narok, haongei mambo ya Kisa, wanaongea mambo ya Mbeere. Mbeere mimi nilienda kusaidia DP na wakashinda, wakaibiwa na ni sawa. Lakini sisi we focus on our party, the DCP.
While highlighting DCP's win in Kariobangi North, Gachagua revealed that he has a political pact with Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, an agreement that would give DCP priority over Wiper in Nairobi County.
Kiti cha gavana kitachukuliwa na DCP. Kiti cha seneta kitachukuliwa na DCP. Kiti cha women rep kitachukuliwa na DCP. Tumekubaliana na Wiper kati ya viti 17. Kati ya DCP na Wiper tutachukua viti 16. Na kati ya viti 85 ya ward between DCP and Wiper tutachukua 75.
Kwamba hii chama sio ya mlima peke yake. Ndiyo ni ya mlima, lakini ya Kenya nzima. Kule Kisa East ndio mahali nyumba ya Francis Atwoli iko. Sasa MCA wa Francis Atwoli ni wa Wamunyoro.
Earlier, as Gachagua's convoy snaked its way to the church, it was confronted by rowdy youth, forcing police to fire tear gas to disperse them. An incident that left children in the church affected. Gachagua has laid blame on Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja.
Mimi nikuambia gavana, wafuasi wangu walikupigia kura. Bora natumiwa na Ruto kutuma wahuni kuangaisha watu ya jamii yangu. Why?
Na mimi nataka kuuliza wale watu wako katika uongozi. We can differ on anything else, but let us not get to a level of throwing tear gas in churches. Tuache hii mambo ya watu kupiga tear gas katika kanisa. That is the lowest we can go as a country. Tuachane hiyo mambo ya kutumia nguvu sana.
The results of the mini polls may shape the next phase of national politics, with the government using the moment to flex its muscles, while the opposition is forced to regroup and rethink its path to 2027. Sydney Chazima, TV47.
All right, they say loss has very few friends, and very curious statement there by the former deputy president, trying to distance himself from the race in Mbeere North and saying that DCP, however factual, that DCP did not have a candidate, and he was only there to support the DP candidate. And that's also telling. He was at the forefront of the campaigns and saying that Mbeere North was a done deal, that Malawa too was a done deal. These predictions that the opposition made, and they proved to be a bit off the mark.
Well, off the mark may be a sort of an overkill, because indeed, I've told you, well, a win, even with one vote, is a win. But the issue is that at what expense to the people of that area, at expense to the taxpayer, at what expense to the security agencies. But let me remind you that we did well. In Magarini, we got 8,000 votes by DCP, over 8,700 votes by DCP. And the UDA did not even present a candidate there, which tells you that some of the areas that we expected that we are not going to penetrate, we are going to penetrate. A place like Baringo, somebody who was running as an independent, got over 30,000 votes. This tells you there is no alternative to UDA in some of these areas. In the past election, it was almost like 100,000 and nobody gets anything on the other side, including the loss by Gideon Moi in that particular area. The Abagusi, all the 3 seats that we won were a flip over from the other parties. ODM disappeared, even the UDA candidate, coordinator ran away. And the ODM guy did not even present, some of the ODM guys did not present their papers. Now, Bungoma was yellow in the last election. This time, Bungoma is turning from yellow to another color, which is likely to be our color, by an independent candidate against Fort Kenya. In the polling station where Wetangula voted, his candidate lost in that polling station, which means that is home polling station. And finally, the bandwagon effect has not yet been created. The bandwagon in the sense that once we pick one presidential candidate and we have a set of leaders moving in certain direction, that is likely to generate more heat and generate more challenge to the ruling coalition. But today, the ruling coalition, the lineup is known. For us, we are united opposition, almost playing from different corners of the republic. Mm-hmm. So to really underestimate the fact that out of the 22 seats, if you are to add all the votes, and I've taken time to add for the MCS, and you do a calculation with certain coefficient, we get 56%. The UDA associated candidates, they're getting 46%. Okay. 44%, okay. Which means if that was a mini presidential election, we would have won by 56%. Okay.
But, okay.
Add all the votes.
Yes.
This is something you can do after the studio. Add all the votes of those who are associated with us. Add all the votes of those who are not associated with us at the MCA level. Mm-hmm. Because you see, for members of parliament, it was ODM stronghold, and they had won in the last election. And UDA, as I told you, in Malaba, they had 40,000 votes. But this time, we took half of that, mm-hmm. away from UDA.
A lot has been said, and I think they've talked about the methods used, the methods employed, and everyone is talking about, yes, if they would not have done this, maybe it would have been different. But if we say, and you said it, that even for the state machinery to replicate the kind of methods they employed in the by-election, it would be difficult. But even for the united opposition, they'll also have been spread very thin to try and counter the same. Don't you think that replicating at whatever level could work in 2027?
Well, I think they say the state as the machinery or as the monopoly of violence. But this time round, it is not enough to mobilize all the askaris and to have the same numbers in all the parts of this republic. Because even now, our askari to the citizenry is still very low ratio. So when the public realizes that this is what the current regime wants to do, it will be overwhelmed by the presence of Kenyans who are already enraged. I'm happy that we didn't even want more seats, because we would have rested on our laurels that we are doing very well. This gives us time to sit down and to strategize on how to counter the measures of the security agencies.
Okay. So now back to the drawing board for the united opposition. Clearly no one wants to be associated with any loss. And moving forward, it's only about 17 months to the next, 18 months to the next, to the general elections.
Yes.
What happens now?
Now, I think what will happen is that we need to pick the lessons learned and then plan on the basis of the new lessons learned. And some of the lessons we have learned. We've learned that violence has been used and is likely to be used again in 2027. So we need to sit down as a team and agree, how do we counter this? I think basically it's a matter of saying 2027 is likely to be a red flag. So that being the case, what do we do to make it green? So that we minimize violence, and at that level then, because one of our key assumptions was that we are going to have a very fair game, that people will be able to step out of their houses, go cast their vote, and go home and wait for the results. That didn't happen. You saw cars being burned. So that means really, then as a united opposition, this time we are not going to underestimate the level of violence. And then we must be prepared.
You agree that you underestimated that?
It was that one I can tell you for sure. It was we never expected that people would get. You know, I never imagined that the stakes would be so high from the Kenya Kwanza side that they can go to that extent of violence to win the seat. So I think from where I sit and our strategies and think tanks, that's a matter they must pick. The other matter they must pick.
Yet the violence witnessed in some areas was not necessarily from the Kenya Kwanza side. We saw some.
Yeah, basically, you know. At times they say there is a way you corner a cat, and the cat stops being a cat; it becomes a lion because it's cornered. It's a matter of death and life. So when you are cornered, even if you didn't have any intentions of reacting, then like you saw what happened to the house of our colleague Karasinga. When you get to a level where you want to kill my family in a house, and I'm there, what do I do? So this thing we are saying, that one area, we never got it right in terms of our prediction. That's why we are saying our predictions are not wrong. It's the assumptions which were wrong. The things we assumed will not happen, happened. And on the basis of that, it changed the whole scenario. The other bit is the element of money. I tell you, I went to Mbeere personally. And I'm telling you, the kind of money which was changing hands, I don't think in a general election, that's something we can sustain. So as a united opposition, we need to think about how do we handle the issue of money, during the election period. Because if we are to compete on the basis of money, obvious, we are disadvantaged. Money being used there was actually government money. It wasn't individual money. It was public resources being used.
It could still be affected.
The vehicles and all that. That's what we are saying now.
However, at whatever level.
That was another underestimation. We never expected people would go against what the Constitution says, that you don't apply public resources during elections. And that was done. So we must then get back to our drawing board and say, this assuming will happen again, what do we do? And the third item, which I think we must do, as we approach 2027, as a lesson learned, is the deployment of the security forces to the electoral areas. At some point, you go and you find like the police is all over the place. So is it that, you know, when Kenyans see the police, they imagine there's a problem, even if there's no problem. So this is likely to make sure that people don't go out to vote. So assuming all the police were deployed in our strongholds as a united opposition, that might discourage our people from getting out of their houses to go and vote, meaning the voter turnout will be very low. So this is another matter we must address. And I think a number of other lessons we learned, which we might have to discuss when we get to the boardrooms. But all said and done, we have said this. For example, from where you sit, did you imagine the Unguja seat in Siaya was to be lost to another party? Obviously, we knew ODM will take it. So the question is, by what mind? And I like what Mheshimiwa Kido said, because he says, like Baringo, we knew it will go with UDA. So the question was, how much can the opposition take from that? And getting 30,000 votes on a candidate who was not UDA sends a signal that as we move to the future, there might be need to be concerned, because it means 30,000 already gone to an area you never imagined. If that happens across board, then I think somebody has a reason to worry. But to me, the most important lesson we have learned is we have no time to sleep. It's time to wake up and get to hard work to make sure that we get this seat.
Yes. The other big problem is a kind of public perception now on the strength that the united opposition had talked about them having and what we've seen. Because the indication was that if anyone was ever going to stop William Ruto, it was a united opposition. Now they're coming out of it, some even trying to distance themselves from some of the losses. Kenyans and those who are supporting that side are looking and saying, are you really sure you're able to stop this gentleman?
Thanks for the question. Let's first of all understand the comment made by Rigathi Gachagua. In Mbeere, the original candidate of Rigathi Gachagua got almost, of DCP, got almost 3,000 votes. In Mbeere, let us remember that DCP had to withdraw its candidate for purposes of opposition unity. So the same way that you are saying a win is a win, it is also accurate to say that DCP, as a matter of political and legal fact, had no candidate, which is what he was saying. And he also added that if you are going, effectively that's what he was saying, if you are going to say DCP has lost a seat that it never contested, why are we then conveniently not talking about seats that DCP actually had candidates and it won? And that's a valid point. Because I've previously said that he talked about commentators. And I say the same thing even before I had him speak, that commentators probably need also to up their game, both in the media and elsewhere, and be a little bit more analytical. Because if there is going to be the kind of shallowness we have witnessed, then the country is going to be the loser. In an election whereby I would say, and I go to this related point, of the analysis of the results, as far as I can see it. Who lost? Did the united opposition lose? No, it did not lose. What is the basis that I say that? I say that because all the seats won by ODM at the national level were not competitive. Okay, number one, they were not competitive at all. You cannot brag about UDA, about elections in Siaya or elections in Baringo. Okay? Number two, the elections that were actually competitive, when you look at all the factors, including the usage of state resources, you cannot say there is legitimacy in the win in Malava and Mbeere North. And therefore, the two, at the national level, two competitive elections, oppositions did very, very well, despite all those things, and on the premise that a win is a win. Then when we go to the MCA seats, outside Turkana, outside the ODM zones, in Western Kenya, in Narok, in Nairobi, all the areas that people called battlegrounds, the opposition actually won. Therefore, for purposes of running a narrative, how do you measure the impact of any elections moving forward? You cannot measure by asking people in Kericho about UDA. They will all say 98% that we are going to vote for Ruto. You actually test it in a place where you are going to say the populations can go either way. That's how you measure how people are likely to perform. And on that measure, my view is that the opposition actually won in all areas where there were competitive elections. I go to the final issue on these issues of the import on presidential elections. I think on this issue, we need to be careful that presidential elections work on a different logic from the elections of MCS, from the elections of National Assembly. In fact, if you had gone to last weekend's analysis, which now that one, there were two analyses, the national level and the actual undercurrents. The actual undercurrents work this way, that if it is Ndakwa in Malava, he comes from a clan. there are certain clan rivalries. Those clan rivalries, irrespective of how they are likely to vote on who will be their presidential candidate, they would tend to say, we want our clan to win this seat. So those kind of elections would be affected by even a person who is likely to be pro-Odinga. If his clan is likely to get a seat, he can easily go flip it on the Ruto side, if that is the scenario. So there is, of course, no clear nexus between an MCA, MP seat vis-a-vis a presidential election. The key factor going on to 2027 will be two, as far as I can see, for purposes of presidential elections. William Ruto, and he understands that is why he was going to make those points when he went to launch a road prematurely in Nakuru. The issue is, as president, he will need to perform. But what we are actually seeing, the economy would have to be working very well. The government would have to be affording its budget for him to have any chance of re-elections. And number two, and that is now there's some complications in Mount Kenya. In Mount Kenya, and I like that bit alone, a bit, it is poisoned chalice that would have won in Mbeere unfairly. Why is it poisoned chalice for him? Because it gives him the illusions about how much votes you can actually get in Mount Kenya. And those illusions are good. Good in two senses. Number one, as we go to 2027, the kind of scuttlebutt that he can be able to engage in and politics of malice, again as members of the community from that area, it reduces a bit because he still have the illusions that he will have the support from there. Number two, it complicates the running mate argument that he will now be tempted to say, what if I let the running mate position stay around Mount Kenya in the hope that I'm going to get more votes? How that plays out elsewhere, now that would be directly significant.
And we'll be talking about the running mate issue in a short while. It is featured on the front page of Taifa Leo.
Yes.
But on this thing of perception,
yes,
and many people who support the United Opposition are asking, who are we going to turn to, if at all we need to stop William Ruto? That coming directly from these mini polls,
yes,
is what many people are questioning, and you can sense a sense of lethargy among the supporters of the United Opposition that what we thought are the warriors we sent out to battle probably are not going to do the job. That is just a general feeling. Maybe a proper analysis would see things differently, but there's a public perception, and that is what the president is riding on. We started this conversation about talking the level of confidence the president has.
Absolutely, and that is why we say the fact that, somebody said some time back, the fact that people cannot upgrade their level of thinking and analysis. Do you go down to their level or you raise them? We shall try to raise it.
But how do you counter that thinking? These are the people who are going to vote come to interest.
No, I don't think it's the perception of normal voters. I'm yet to come across in Mount Kenya or Central Kenya somebody who is saying, I'm going to vote for Ruto because he won Mbeere.
Not necessarily vote for Ruto. but if the feeling is that
they will come out to vote.
That this politician is unstoppable, then why do I come out to vote?
Actually, let me add something there, because now you seem to be interested in that bit. Actually, Mbeere North, I was hoping we didn't have to get there. Mbeere North, in the bigger schemes of Mount Kenya, there it is those areas like Tigania, that even during Moi's time, he would occasionally perform very well when everybody else was in the opposition. It's a marginal constituency. So if anybody was to try and equate, like we won in Mbeere North, it's like you have won in Juja or Teto, it would be idiotic. So let us also not overestimate the significance of winning Mbeere North.
It's interesting you mentioned that the president, the following day after the by-elections, went to launch a road prematurely. And these are just some of the things the president is doing. Definitely, there's a lot of confidence. And the president knows what he's doing. He's playing into the minds of same voters. Can you really ignore the sentiment that any general voter may feel, either lethargy or a sense of defeat prematurely?
Well, I think, as I said, we still got a lot of assignment to do. in terms of informing the public and also trying to capture certain constituency called the GNC. Because as we witnessed in a lot of polling stations, young people were rare and they came in late afternoon. We just need to see what is the messaging that we need to pass over to them and allow them to realize this is their country. They need to take care of their country because some of us, we are on our 60s, moving towards the 70s. And if we have to be around for another 20 years, they have a lot more time to be in this town and to be in this country. And therefore the future is theirs and the present determines the future. Number two, we know that the president was buoyed by those results and therefore he wanted to show off by launching projects that are yet to be determined. Are they going to be PPP or are they going to be, and which land are they going to use? Is it the public land that they're going to use to run a concessionary project? Or are they going to use, are they going to have another layer on top of the road? And when you are talking of 170 billion, this is something that if we plan very well, we can do it within the revenues that we have. It is only that there is a lot of pilferage and a lot of wastage that is taking place. If you are to do it in phases, it can be about 4 phases, and we'll have gone all the way to Kisumu or all the way to Mau Summit if we are to be prudent in managing resources. And we know there are certain bottlenecks along this road. There is a section between about 35 kilometers that creates that bottleneck between Naivasha and a certain section of the Nakuru Road. There is also the issue of Nakuru town itself. If we were to have some kind of flyovers in Nakuru town, we'll decongest. Otherwise, the rest of the road, with minimum kind of study, we can get the road running smoothly so that we do not have to engage into the public resources. But then, we know the president is very good in playing platitudes to himself. And we've known that. And that's why we've said, if he cannot improve on lying, some of the projects that he's launching, he knows that they are not going to take off. But must you really go? Did you see Kibaki on Thika Highway, blocking the road for the whole day, just to show that he's now launching Thika Highway? Or did he move to this other turnoff, to Machakos turnoff, expanding to make it about a number of lanes from the 2 lanes? This is the issue of trying to launch even projects that, even the one you launched in Emali. When you look in the budget, it is only 100 million. 100 million can do only 3 kilometers. And the road he was launching is about over 20 kilometers from Emali all the way to Kadonsweni, going down to get to the road that goes to Wote. These are projects that he wants to remain in the public domain, but he knows they are not going to be completed within the period unless there is another amount of money that he wants to get us from somewhere or return what has been taken away.
Definitely launching that mega infrastructure project that has a potential to move the sentiments of the public one way or the other. A day after that by-election is not by accident. Definitely the president knows what he's trying to do.
No, I think there's a point you're raising, Fred, and I think it's important. We don't lose it. The truth of the matter is that the perception out there, and I think this has been there for long, is that now the president might not be beatable. And I think the point you are raising is, could this discourage people from going to vote? Because if I'm going to vote for an already won election, why would I bother to go queue for 3-4 hours? And this is something we must address as united opposition. We need to come up with a program to educate people that this Kenya Kwanza is actually beatable. Because if we don't do that, then automatically you invite people who might not even step out to go and vote. And there is such perception. Even before we started the campaign, people were saying, if this guy, and it started 2022. What happened is, President Ruto was going against the sitting government. You remember our site, Azimio, we were being backed by the sitting president. And somehow he managed to beat that system. So from that, people are thinking like this guy might be, if he was able to beat a sitting regime together with the opposition, then he might not be beatable even in 2030.
They say he has never lost an election in
So you see, to me, I think that's a factor we must consider in our analysis. That assuming Kenyans say this guy is just going to win again, and on that note, why can't we just give him a through pass for 2027? That becomes very dangerous. So I think we have a lot of workers. We are all saying that we need this is one of the things we must really come up with a strategy now to counter it. But now all said and done, you know the issue of launching projects. As you are saying, this was very deliberate. It was properly planned because, you know, it came just immediately after the wins. It was saying now, creating a platform to initiate that debate about, you see, I've beaten these guys. I've told you I'll beat them early in the morning. I've already done it and I'll continue doing it, so that that message now starts getting to the people. But I think Kenyans are intelligent enough. I like the economic argument where we are saying, unless it does something serious, matters economy, this is going to be one of the key things which are going to make its re-election quite difficult. In the earlier reports, you remember there's a report you're reading where we are saying we have about 125 Kenyans who own all our wealth, and the rest we are all poor. These are the issues. Now, the issue of launching projects, I'm telling you, is very interesting. You know, he came to our region, and I promised a lot of things, launched a number of projects, but immediately he left the ground. The tractors took off. You don't see those these tractors. Even one was very interesting. Even the ballast they had put there a few tons of ballast to start. They took it away. So this launching is actually doing a disservice to. If I were him, I would not even launch, because you are launching projects which have no budget, and we all know our financial management requirements in Kenya. Public finances, for you to use them, you must have them in the budget appropriated by Parliament. So in a situation where you go launch a project, and when you look at the books, there's no budget, unless you're telling us you're going to get money from somewhere, then you have a problem. And these are the things. So over time, Kenyans will realize that so many projects have been launched, and they have not been implemented. And I think, I don't know where this young man disappeared to, who used to go and take pictures telling Kenyans this was launched 4 or 5 times. Now we are seeing a repeat of that. That project was launched and now it's being relaunched. And this will continue because the whole idea is to convince Kenyans that give me a second term. And from where we are sitting, like us in Ukambani, we said the whole idea was launching so many projects was to be able to tell us that now that I've launched, give me another 5 years I complete. And even this talk about making Kenya first world country is related to that. That give me more time so that I put you on the right trajectory in terms of making Kenya a first-class world. So to me, there's a lot of political maneuvering and manipulation so that people believe if we give this guy another chance, we are there. But the question is, are Kenyans able to see these tricks? And I believe majority of Kenyans are in a position to believe these tricks.
And the issue is that now the President William Ruto appears to be running the narrative. It's him on the headlines. You introduced to the same debate yourself that now the discussion is about who's going to be his running mate. Yeah. People are worried about that now. That is it Professor Kithure Kindiki? The president definitely is on running the narrative now. We're not even talking about who's going to do what in the united opposition. It's about the president and who's going to be his running mate this coming days after that by-election. Don't you think that alone, it's there on the front page of Taifa Leo, kitendawili cha naibu wa Ruto mwaka 2027. You brought up the same argument.
Yes, but before I go there, the issue of development is a more important issue because there is an important legal issue. They have already said that Kibaki, even when construction was commencing, you did not see him going to Thika Road to come and say, we are starting Thika Road. If anything, he went after there was already a road. Okay? Now, at what stage did President Ruto go to launch these roads? I am looking at an excerpt from The Nation of Friday, the same day the launch was taking place. There is a notice here from Kenha, where Kenha, I will just read the relevant small part, was saying they had approved that the proposal submitted by China Road Bridge with NSSF and another company called Shandong. But they continue to say that pursuant to those approvals, Kenha shall commence negotiations with the two proponents for the respective part of the project that they were going to undertake, that is leading to the issues of the project agreement. Now, the important point you need to get there, because there's a lot of legalese, is the fact that projects, when you are launching them, you launch them, number one, with a contractor who has actually signed a contract to do the road. And number two, who has also achieved financial closure. That a process that all engineers, when you speak to them, they talk about taking something like 2 years between the time when you sign the contract and then when you mobilize the resources. Because remember, for everybody, they would need to get loans and all this very elaborate legal process before you can go to the construction. So that what Kenyans are not being told, and this is serious conmanship, is the fact that a road that will not start before 2027 because of where the process is. People are being made to believe that the road would be working in June of next year. And then there is a second lie that is immediately piled up after that. That after June in 2027, the road going to Eldoret, the road going to Malaba and Kisumu, a Dio carriageway, is going to commence constructions. These are lies. And this is a new set of lies that started with the State of the Union address. Because there was those lies that were there about dams, about stadiums, because they were exposed by Kibaso Murara that those were not true. Itare is half done. Why can't we complete Itare in Kuresoi if we are really serious about these things? We are now talking about a road of this nature would actually take in the normal course of engineering about 5 years. People are being told that within 1 year, this is going to happen. So you need to understand, despite all that, why is this happening? I am in several WhatsApp forums of very educated people. People have already bought the lie that the road to Nakuru is about to be fixed, and everybody now is raising up their hand and says, and that is why all these other dual carriageways are being mentioned. And when will they put a dual carriage in our area? Even if what you actually need in your area is to eliminate mud-walled classes. You get it? Because, and what is the politics about the launch? The politics about the launch, like another guy was telling me the other day, is this. When the Kambas are told that Ruto last week was launching projects in Western, they cannot verify whether those projects would ever take place. They start now urging him, come and launch projects in your area.
You seem to be agreeing with me that yes, the narrative, and you're talking about what's up that has very clever people. That
I want to go there. That's where I want to go, and I am agreeing with you. So that the projects of launch, it is where you kinda take the lies, you turn the lies, because you give some credibility to lies. Because Kenyans in Ukambani believe what was launched in Western Kenya is actually taking place. They don't know it's not taking place. So even when people now see like you are fixing a road in Nakuru, or you have said, we have even seen you launching it, they tend now to assume that in June 2027, a Dio carriageway to Kisumu is going to be built. Of course, there will be nothing like that. Going to your question on the issues of the running mate, it is part of this kit of lies that will have to be peddled. The good thing about all this is this, that if the opposition, united opposition, is engaged enough, you can take a good record, even without Morara, because he showed the formula. And now to be able to show that this date, these are the lies that we were told, these were the launch that took place. Where are we with those projects that were launched? The one nationally that we can be able to see, and that I can bet, I come from Nakuru County. Okay? I am sure they are, even going by the official records, and I'm a lawyer, There is nothing. This road will, next year, you are not going to see any contractor who has raised money to build these roads. In fact, this case that was filed in Nakuru, you might actually find orders being given so that he can be let off the lies. But there is no road that is going to be built. Okay. But we wait and see.
But the narrative, the president appears to be owning it at this point. The fact that now, yes, even away from the road, we are talking about who's going to be his running mate come 2027. The concern from it should be probably on the united opposition and how the lineup should be. But the narrative is with the president right now.
Well, the president is in catch-22. Should he retain Kithure Kindiki, we will have lost two major constituencies, Western Kenya and Nyanza. Because the people of Nyanza, and you heard the Honorable Dr. Oburu Odinga say that we are taking nothing less than a deputy president for that position, either from Kenya Kwanza or from the alternative. And of course, Western Kenya, this time round, the appetite for the running mate is higher than the previous elections have presented. And this therefore means that if he's going to pick to retain the current deputy president, he's going to run into trouble. Should he pick somebody from Luo Nyanza, definitely we lose Central Kenya completely. The little votes that he has up to now, he's going to lose them completely. Coupled with losing Western and losing Kisii and some parts of the Ma community, because you saw the guy Masikonde won with a huge margin, a seat that belonged to ODM in the previous election in Narok. And therefore, it means that the Ma is not 100% still either in ODM or in UDA. Mm-hmm. In fact, the ODM did not present a credible candidate for that position. It was UDA which came second. So it tells you the president is not sitting pretty. He has a problem. He has to think about that. I think that question is being posed to him, not to us. We don't care whoever is going to pick, because we know whoever is going to pick will not balance the equation. Because after all, this is one-man show. As I've said before, and I will repeat, is that we are looking for a team of individuals who will realize that they are also leaders in transition. We hand over to the young generation this country. And I say that with a lot of respect for the leaders in the official opposition or the alternative view, because we must accept that those of us above 60, we are a minority. Mm-hmm. Despite our experience and everything else, we need to take this country to people below the age of 50. Mm-hmm. That's what Kenyatta did. The first cabinet is still the youngest in Kenya's history. Nyerere did when he was retiring at 63. He was 63 years, and he realized that he had to retire to pave the way. Half of his cabinet was under 40, including the Prime Minister, the late Edward Sokoine. Mm-hmm. We must, of necessity, realize that we must add vibrancy to the candidates that we are going to present, even at the MCA level, even at constituency level, even at senatorial level. That's the only way we can infuse into the young people some presence, some hope that this is their project. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if we're going to choose for senator, somebody above 60, governor, somebody above 60. Today, even if you gave me the seat of a governor, I can be a minister because there are systems already in place. But to be a governor of a county with so many funny guys, it is likely to cause a lot of distraction to my DNA, mm-hmm. given the fact that it is a job that is thankless and it is directly involving the people. So whoever the president will pick as his running mate, to me, doesn't give me any headache at all. Mm-hmm. It is what we are going to plan to counter.
But definitely having people talking about who the president, they may pose it as a problem for the president, but just having that narrative that it is going to be very consequential who the president picks as his running mate, it would in one way take the sails away from the united opposition, because visibility also matters. Having people talking about the united opposition, now people are just focusing on William Ruto. Who will you now pick as your running mate?
I think the debate about who is going to be the running mate, you cannot wish it away. will continue. But just to remind you, Fred, you know, politics is an issue of numbers. And I think that's why you see Western Kenya, Nyanza, are now claiming that they need to be given that position. Why am I saying that? When you look at the numbers the current DP is likely to bring to the table, 2027, looking at central Kenya and the mountain region, and look at the numbers likely to come from Nyanza, where we have ODM, and Western, where we have Wetangula and Mundavadi, assuming they were able to bring the numbers to the table, automatically the current DP is disadvantaged. Now, the question is, if you pick this position and push it to the other side, then automatically, even the small numbers would have gotten, like what Kibe was saying, the issue of the Rakanithi, the issue of the Mbeere. Now, it means that will be gone. And now you have purely to rely on now Western Kenya and Nyanza. And now when you analyze what is happening, Nyanza, with the passing on of Honorable Raila, we are still not sure what will happen. You can see the storms in that party. We are not very sure that it will remain an unit or it might be divided. And people are saying there is a likelihood of getting a fallout. Some members might be, it will not just be as it used to be when you get the ODM ticket, you are home and dry. This time you might have to get the ticket and still work very hard to get your seat. Meaning that then we are likely to see a larger proportion of that population might vote against the wishes of the party. Now, that being the case, is still another story. Look at Western. I think as we are seated here now, Western is where you cannot predict what will happen. Because you saw the Malava competition. You could see this is telling you Western is actually up for grabs for any party and any coalition. So to me, I like the situation where we are saying the current president is a catch-22, and he has to get it analyzed very well. But all said and done, I think it's to our advantage, because the more they start pushing for these positions to get it, then the more it gives us time, as you are saying. Our side, we've not declared who's going to be the presidential candidate, we've not declared who's going to be the deputy. So as we are trying to balance that, and I like the argument that we need to see ourselves as a coalition of equals when it comes to the principles.
But whatever decision the president makes will definitely affect your decision.
Obviously, it will. It will, because if he picks from Nyanza, then you must go back to the drawing board, because we have our own target in that area, how much we might expect to get from there. So to me, whichever side, it's just like today, if we say this is our presidential candidate, also the other side must sit down and start now analyzing on the basis of that. That's why you see there's a bit of a wait and see to see what happens, because even cost, cost is also claiming. Don't ignore cost. They're also claiming their share in that arrangement. And depending on who gets what, then there will be a bit of reorganization just to adjust to that reality. And this will happen both our side and the other side. But we have said many times, this time, from where I sit as a member of the United Opposition, I don't think it will be wise for us to wait, as we have always been doing, up to 3 months to elections when we are saying this is our person. I think this time we must do things different. And I've said we must give Kenyans 1 year of saying this is the United Opposition candidate, so that we analyze him, we say all the bad things about him, we say all the good things about him. We can give the Gen Zs time to do all their search in Googles and Google Maps and whatever they want to do, so that we get to know who is this. In that case, then people will be able to, elections are normally won on the basis of undecided voter. And you cannot have undecided voters for more than 1 year. So the best thing is, when you wait up to about 3 months, more likely the undecided voter will have made a decision that these guys are not decided, let me go to the other side. So we need to give people time to analyze the candidates, so that they make their final decision that this is the candidate I will vote for.
All right. I think we have about 9 minutes or so 3 minutes for your final comments. And the issue is now about forecasting future election models. And for the United Opposition, there's a risk of being just reactionary and waiting for the president to do something, then adjusting to that. What do you recommend in as far as adjustments in forecasting for the models?
First of all, I would say there has been an undue pressure, which is not necessary, for the united oppositions to say this is directions that they are going. Which I don't think, and I would agree with Rigathi Gachagua when in one of the speeches he said, this is a decision that should be made around December 2026. Because there is a risk of doing things a little bit prematurely, and you get the kind of harassment that we've seen with Besigye and other places. Right now, and that is why yesterday you are seeing Rigathi Gachagua being tear-gassed and his supporters, is because, and that is a correct reading, the greatest risk to William Ruto's re-elections remains how many votes will he get in the Mount Kenya area? Because that is the true reason why he's president. If President Ruto cannot be able to get about 1 million or so votes in Mount Kenya area in 2027, he will not be re-elected. The numbers will not add up. But that's an argument for another day. But the crucial issue that going to the election that we need to watch out, and we need to give it time. Let us wait and see how will the ODM issue develop. Who will take ODM? How will the Luos see their future moving forward? Is it with a group that say they are orphans and they want to go to their stepfather Ruto? Or is it the other group that says we want to build our own house and see how it goes? Until that one is settled, then it is not possible for you to say that I'm making these decisions today. And that is also related to something else. You also need to see how the economy in 2026 is going to work itself out. How much of, because what is the president trying to run? I have delivered, okay? How much delivery is actually going to take place? I don't see they are in a very good relationship with the World Bank. The budget of Kenya is doing very badly, okay? The chances, the development budget, when they do, what is this called? Supplementary. Yes, when one of these supplementary is done, the development budget will be reduced to almost nothing, okay? So that we need to give Ruto 1 year and see up to July next year, how much is he going to perform? And let me add the important issue, the issue of new taxation. When he's promising people that there will be all these dual carriageways, part of the issues is to psych them psychologically for the taxes that are supposed to be increased in December with this double taxation of the new infrastructure fund. How is it going to be received by Kenyans? Next year, it is predicted, is going to be a drought year. So let us see, because I keep on asking these questions. Are Kenyans a group of masochists? How much pain can they be given by a president called William Ruto, and they still say, I am going to re-elect these people to continue receiving more dosage of pain? Right. I don't think Kenyans are masochists. So my view is, it is too early. Let us wait. And there is something else, the final point. There's something I keep saying. Many presidents who fails to be re-elected, they fail because of their own mistake, what I called presidential own goals. William Ruto keeps making own goals, one of the biggest one, and that is where you are seeing all this high political temperature, is impeaching Rigathi Gachagua without a good reason. And you can see the consequences that have visited him.
Thank you, Wakili. Bwana Kirwa, your final comments on this, the adjustments that need to be made.
Well, a number of adjustments. What Wakili has just said is very true. Double taxation. Remember, since 1994, we moved from the toll station to the fuel levy, starting with 3 shillings. Now, as we are talking, is at 25 shillings per litre that we take away for purposes of road maintenance and opening up new roads. This is now what we call the fund that gets from the fuel. For every litre of petrol or diesel that you take, you buy from the pump, 25 shillings will go towards fuel levy. This is a lot of money. And if that money was being used carefully, you would not have to go through the process we are going through, where somebody is now telling us he's going to do a road that is going to be tolled, which means you are going to pay the fuel levy, again you are going to be taxed to use that same road, and yet you are the one who built it. Unless I do not understand basic economics when it comes to some of these concessionaries. This is something that the president and the government should be able to explain to Kenyans that yes, we are building this and we are not using public land, because the road reserve and the road that we have today is our road, is our property. And if somebody is coming as a private investor, he must get alternative land. This is what happened in Zambia and many other parts of the world, that if you are doing something on private land, on public land, it must be owned by the public. Otherwise, we are taking away what belongs to the public and building a road. We've taken away what belongs to the public and we have built houses and we sell at almost the same price as any other developer who buys a piece of land and builds and sells at a profit. So whoever is building these houses, we do not know. Whoever is going to build the road, we do not know. Regardless of whether it's starting next year or even 2032 or 2037. This is something that I feel the taxpayer should not be given unnecessarily a huge burden, because we're already burdened by many things.
All right. Finally,
I agree with my colleagues, because if the issue is public-private partnerships, then the issue is, then whatever the public contributes to that arrangement must be taken out from the cost.
Yeah.
So that you don't do double as we have done with the housing. You know, the housing is, you give out public land, you tax Kenyans, you construct houses using Kenyan money, and then you sell the houses to Kenyans. You can see that confusion. I think we need to come out very clear. We have said many times that the PPP is the way to go, but it needs to be properly structured so that we don't really overtax Kenyans to achieve the same goal. But what I would want to say as I conclude is that from the discussion we have held, we can see that if we are not careful as Kenyans, we are likely to be taken for a ride. So Kenyans need to be very keen in terms of the moves the Kenya Kwanza government is making, because there is a bit of attempt to trick, it's like confuse Kenyans. But like you are saying, the perception this guy is unbeatable, you can't beat him, so in that case, he's launching projects all over the place, so he's doing development. But in reality, when you analyze, you realize there isn't much happening. So Kenyans need to be very keen, watchful, and make sure that because we are diligent, most of Kenyans are very diligent, we must make sure that we are not taken advantage of by being given fake promises, fake projects which are never implemented. And the starting point is the budget process. Because the law is very clear, if something is not in the budget, it must be brought to Parliament. It must be taken to Parliament for approval before it is implemented. And when it is implemented, then supplementary budget must regularize. The law is also very clear. Supplementary budget cannot change the budget more than 10% of what has been appropriated. So these are some of the small things we need to be keen on to make sure that then we are not taken for a ride. And I can tell you for sure, most of these things, like now we are talking about infrastructural bond. You hear everybody talking about it, infrastructural bond. The other day, during the State of the Nation address, talking about raising 5 trillion. Our budget currently is 4.2 trillion. Raising 5 trillion to do projects.
Thank you so much.
Let's stop it at that.
Makale Mulo MP, Kitui Central. Kibe Mungai, advocate of the High Court, and Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who served as Agriculture Minister in the Kibaki One administration and as MP of Cherangani constituency. Our panelists this morning on State of the Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, big discussions. Yes, incidentally, one more thing that is going to be happening this week is the Senate considering the impeachment of Amos Nyaribo, who is the governor of Nyamira County. That comes up later this week, I think on Wednesday and Thursday before the plenary. So that is going to be big news. But once again, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time at TV47. And a quick look at the headlines today. Inside Ruto's power circle, that's a big headline on the front page of the People Daily. On the front page of Taifa Leo, anasema kitendawili cha naibu wa Ruto mwaka 2027. Ni habari kuu pale. kwenye ukurasa wa mbele. Other headlines, Business Daily, Kenyans failed to claim 67 billion shillings shares of NSE listed firms. Wamenunua shares na wameenda. Scam loading, another SHA rip-off on 25 acres of land in Karen. That's a bone of contention. Of course, matters to do with, remember we're in December, the festivities. No Christmas cheer for families as festivities loom. Oxfam report says the cost of food has risen by 50%. And of course, the big one, matters by-election. The aftermath of the November 27th by-election fallout. Parties now looking to punish some of those people who went against the party wishes. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the state of the nation. My name is Fred Indimuli. Good morning.